So guys, welcome back, and what we're going to do is try the Tang Nano that I built in one of my previous videos in this to see if the issue is in the video board or on the way to the video board, or whether it's before everything else in the machine. And this is just isolating where the fault could be. Now, you did see the keyboard was in pieces again. It came up and started having more issues with the keyboard missing some of the keys again. So what I'm going to do is I've had to strip it down completely and remove the piece that had the silver traces on it, and I've got some self-adhesive copper track coming. I've got a couple of different widths. I've got a 3mm and a 5mm one coming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually stick those over where the silver ones were, and then use the pen to join the tracks on either side so it'll be like it was originally. So I'm going to have a go with that as well, but I don't need the keyboard to see if this is working. So what we're going to do is I'll clean this a little bit up and get everything put aside. We'll put the LVA 510 in first, see if that fixes our issue. If it doesn't, then we'll look at putting in the FPGA Tang Nano and see if that fixes our issue. One way or another, we're going to know where the problem is. Alright, so hang tight and let's get on with it. Okay guys, so here's the board. I removed the LVA 510 earlier. You've seen me desolder the stuff out of the boards. So I've got some sockets. I buy them in 20s or 50s at a time. So it's just a 16 pin socket. So I'm putting that on there. So if this LVA ever goes again, then it can be replaced if it needs to be. But in all honesty, I'm actually thinking that if it was me, I would have this board in for aesthetics only, and I would probably run the HDMI or the version 1 with the HDMI VGA in it and get a better output on it. So anyway, I'm going to put the socket in it. There's the LVAs that have come in, and we'll solder that in and get it done. Alrighty. Okay, what you saw there is I didn't realise one of the holes where the socket goes in was actually closed off. One of the holes down the end here, and it was pushing the pin out. So I was trying to work out why it was doing that, and then I looked, oh hang on, I'm missing one hole here. So that's what it was. So I just had to clean that out. So just to heat it up a little bit, and then a quick blow from the other side of the board just cleans the solder out. So yeah, and that's in there now, so I just need to solder that socket in and put a chip in it and give it a try. Right, that's done. That's the old LVA that I desoldered out of it earlier. So that's got the socket all soldered in there. So I'll give that a little bit of a clean up with some isopropyl, and then we'll pop the IC in there and we'll give it a go and see how it goes, if we get a signal or not. And this is the trusty little tool that I told you about that you can get on finger burst to make, which is just for folding the legs on your ICs. And as I was saying, there's two sizes you can get, and that's for doing the bigger ICs. And there was also the leg bender for doing resistors, capacitors, and coils and diodes and those sorts of things. So I'll stick the link to that in this video as well down the bottom. So that's on Fingerburst. So if you've got someone who's got a 3D printer, they can print them out, or if you've got someone who's in a club who's got one, they can always print some out for you guys. That's what I did a few years back. So anyway, let's put this in here and carry on and see if we can get this thing fixed. Right, so I'm all plugged up and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'll spin the little camera around so you can actually see the screen and not me, and we'll see if this thing's going to work, eh? So I take it there we have our answer. So I think what I'm going to do now is I will put the Tang Nano in and we'll try it through HDMI and see if we get any luck that way. So as you see there, I just had to make sure that pin 1 is going to pin 1. If you want to hang on a sec, I'll just straighten this camera up. So here you go. So I just had to make sure pin 1 was going to pin 1. That's why on this board you can have 2 sets of header pins on either side of both the boards, and that's just so if you don't want the cable going across the board, you can go from one to the other. Alright, but it's up to you if you want to put them on or not. You don't have to. Right, so we've got all this in here. What I'll do is I'll swing the camera around to the monitor. My main monitor is the one that has the HDMI on it. So I will swing that around to that, and I'll plug the HDMI cable in, and we'll see how we go from there. Okay, so I have the little extension cables that I did as part of the kit for the Tang Nanos that I made up. So I just got to plug this in here, and this was just made so that you can put the board anywhere in the machine, and this will go to the outside, and it has the screws to screw onto the outside, so you just have the HDMI slot on it. So I'll plug all this up and then spin that camera around. Okay guys, so we're all plugged up and ready to go. The Tang Nano is running, as you can see there. The lights are on, which means she's actually running. The LEDs are showing us that she's on and running. And so what we'll do is we will flick over to the HDMI, plug her in and see if she's all working. I don't hold a lot of hope for it, but we'll try it and see. I'm pretty sure there's something else going on in this machine, but let's give it a go. Oh, what do you know? We have the Tang Nano screen. There is something not quite right with it though. It seems to be very slow in what it's doing, and a bit of tearing in that on the screen. But the good thing is at least we have an output on it, which is really, really good. So this will point to there's something else going on in this machine, which is a little bit of hope. I think we may look at putting a little bit more time into this later on. So I'm sorry, but there's probably going to be a part 6 to this, guys, or part 7. I can't remember where I'm up to right now. Anyway, at least we know it's sort of alive. Alrighty, till next time. Okay, ciao. So here's a bit of an update to the CX5M computer. Having a look at the Tang Nano, and I was testing it on a Spectra video, and I was having similar issues with the video output and that. So I got a hold of the guy who developed this, managed to hook up with him through Messenger, and we were talking it over and trying different things, and he told me it could be a faulty LVA. So I went in and I noticed the board was getting hot, and it shouldn't do because it's only 3.3 volts. So anyway, he said check your LVAs and use a scope and that, and I thought, oh, I got spares. I might swap one out at a time, the same one, and use it to find out if there's any faulty ones in it. So I tried the first one on the outside, and that one was fine, but when I pulled the Nano off, it was one of the ones under here. I replaced it, and then when I plugged it all back in and turned it on, bang, everything came up perfect. The boot screen came up and it went into MS-DOS, and with the Spectra Video it went into Spectra Video Basic. So that was all fine, but I did have a little bit of glitching on the screen. Every now and then it would start to boot up and then come up with some garbage. And so we were thinking this over, and he said to me, oh, your ribbon cable looks a little bit long. He said, and so mine's only 100 mils, 10 centimetres. He says, yours looks a lot longer. I thought, nah, mine's about that. So I got an original cable, and the original cables I got were 300 mil. And so all I did is I folded them in half and cut it and put another head on the other end. I didn't think any more of it. And so when I measured it, yeah, no, they were 150 mils. So I thought, oh, I wonder. It's worth a try. So I cut the cable down, took the plug off, and re-crimped it on the other end, and bang, not a problem. Ever since, every time I turn it on, perfect, not a problem. Now I've left the top off this ribbon cable because I'm going to have to change the header on it. In the Spectra Video, the way they come up on an angle, the keyboard rests very close to this. And so with the other plastic piece on top, it pushes on the keyboard and causes errors in the keyboard because it's like making the keys press. So I'm going to have to take this off and put a right angle one on it, so that when I plug it in the Spectra Video, it comes off flatter than when it sits up. Because when I've got this plastic piece off, it sits fine. So with that plastic piece on the top, it's just that much higher, where when this bends over, it'll be the same height as this, but it'll be just coming across. So that's what I've got to do. So that's some really good news. And the thing is this boots up fine to the MSX basic screen with the FPGA in it. So that is telling me that it's from the VDP out. So it's either something on this board or it's something through the little board at the back. But I can't think it's too much, because the little board at the back runs the clocks for the machine, and this is pulling the external clock off the board, so the clock must be fine. So I'm picking it's got to be something here or something small on that board, whether it's capacitors or transistors or something in here that could be causing an issue. But anyway, at least we've got an idea. And so what I'm going to do is, this is only a short bit on the end of the main one I did. I will change the main up camera to the HDMI monitor, and you can see what this looks like. And I'll tell you what, I think you'll be really impressed, and I think it'll probably be the way you want to look at going. So I'm going to offer this to the chappie who owns this and just say to him, do you want me to keep going down this rabbit hole to try and find the problem, or do we leave that in for aesthetics and run an HDMI out through there, and then you have the HDMI. And if he wants to, this board here has the jumper on it so he can run audio, and the audio will go through HDMI as well. So I'll give him that option, and he can make up his own mind on that. Alright, so I'll get in, I'll swap these screens around, I'll pause the video here, swap screens around, and then we'll have a look at this thing booting up, eh? Okay guys, I'm just going to switch the screen over to HDMI and then we'll power it on. Well, so there we are guys. So finally we've gotten to find out where the fault is in this Yamaha CX5M. So it's obviously after the VDP, considering the FPGA gives us a really nice picture out. I'm picking it's got to be something to do with that combiner unit at the very end where the RF and that is. It's got to be something there, because the tracks come directly from the VDP, go straight to a little daughter board. They come up, it's just tracks. It gets soldered from the main board onto the little board. They come up the little board. There's a couple of resistors to ground for each of the color lines. Then it comes via the cable onto the little daughter to the output board, and it's just whatever's in there. And I've replaced the LVA 510 and it's made no difference. So I am picking there's something else going on. I mean, if I could get another one of those daughter boards, it might fix the problem, I don't know. But I'll put it to the person that owns this what they want me to do and how far they want me to go with it. I don't think it's in further on the board, because the FPGA picks the clocks up off the motherboard. It could be RAM, I suppose, because the FPGA has its own 16K RAM as part of the system. So it could be the RAM that may have an issue. I'll see what he wants to do. I mean, my idea of thinking of it is along the lines that things are getting older now, and to get something to run on AV, you're better off with either a VGA output and running it on a standard VGA monitor, or HDMI and run it on a big screen, or even a decent sized 24-inch. So, I mean, as you saw with mine's a 24-inch TV that I use. It's just a cheapy TV, and it has all the VGA, AV, HDMI. That's why I kept it, because I have all those inputs for it. So, yeah, I'll leave the ball in his court, and he can tell me what he wants to do. If he wants to go with the VGA HDMI option, he'll have to wait until I get the boards in, and I had an email saying the boards were on their way, so they could be another couple of weeks away yet. I will contact him and ask him and see what he wants to do. I'll keep you guys in the loop as well. I'm going to be finishing off the Spectra video FPGA upgrade after I find out what he wants to do with this, because that's the FPGA that'll be going into my Spectra video, and that's on another video I've just done where I've actually dragged it screaming and kicking into the 21st century, as I said. That's going to have that in it, and it gives a really nice output. So I'm going to do a follow-up to that one with some games and that, so you can actually see what it looks like running games. The nice option too is they have a scan line option, so if you want the real old school feel to it, you can put a jumper on the board and it gives you the scan lines option, so you can have that real retro feel. So anyway guys, this is where I'm at, and I think it's a big plus for success that we've got this to actually display, which is what I'm picking as the piece I like about it. And do we necessarily need to go down the track of trying to diagnose what's wrong on the video out? It has audio on that board as well, but the HDMI has an audio input on it. So if we just take the audio track and make a jumper for it, sorry, if we take the audio track and just make a lead for it and then jumper it onto the board, we'll have audio over HDMI. And if you're using the MIDI unit in these, they have their own audio out on them, so you don't actually use the one on the PC. The PC sound is just for the PC. So it's up to you which way you go. If you put the audio jack onto it, you could split it if you wanted, I suppose. Audio over HDMI, one cable. So anyway, that's where I'm at guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed this one, and if you haven't seen the one on the Spectra video, keep an eye out for it. It shouldn't be far behind this one. And as I always say, look after yourselves and have a good one. And ciao.